Welcome to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Today, we'll show you how to use the spirit of love and self-worth to improve the connections with everyone else in your life. This program is your weekly gift, and it will keep on giving. You'll see. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jean Marie Farish.
Well, greetings and a hearty welcome, everyone. I hope you're all faring well. I'm Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, coming to you from the Voice America Empowerment Channel, shining love light into your hearts and homes to empower you to create a life you love. Thanks to our listeners worldwide who tune in live and on demand. We have a wonderful show today, Empowering Yourself to Navigate Job Loss with Monique Deneau. How can workers navigate the ever-changing labor market? How can employers use their power and skills effectively for maximum economic benefit? How can one become proactive and thrive when facing job loss? The labor market is constantly changing. According to the Kennan Institute, there's an article on 3 trends shaping today's labor challenges, considering massive shifts in the global market, rippling effects from COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical upheavals continuing to echo across industries, and persistent uncertainty about economic conditions. Highlighted in the article are the following. Demand for workers is high and supply is low. Workers want more than just a paycheck, and the demand for new skills is outpacing workers' capacity to pivot. So how can we alleviate the pressures that impacts us on a global scale? Navigating job loss may have effects on the psychological well-being and productivity of workers. An article by Alberta Health Services, How to Cope with Job Loss. Tips included giving yourself time to adjust, accept the reality of the situation, take care of yourself, reach out for support, stay positive, and reinvest your energy. And our outstanding guest today, Monique Deneau, will share how to empower yourself when facing issues in the labor market and shift to a new mindset. She's the president and CEO of MD Consulting, Building Better Leaders Worldwide. Monique works as an executive coach with over 3 decades of experience developing corporate executives into successful leaders ready to change company culture. She has achieved 7 business certificates, an associate and bachelor of science in management, master of science in industrial and organizational psychology, and she's an accredited master coach. But most of all, she is a human being on a continuous journey of transformation who uses her life experiences to shift behavior in the workplace. And Monique has the unique ability to build immediate trust and quickly get individuals into alignment with their true values and desired direction. She's a contributing author to the bestseller Ophelia's Mom, the self-published collaboration, How to Win and Keep Clients. And we're going to hear a little bit about her upcoming book, Leading in Captivity, a survival guide for corporate executives. And Monique is the Voice America host of Leading with Intention on the Business Channel. So now I am honored to welcome Monique Deneau on our show today, Empowering Yourself to Navigate Job Loss. Welcome, Monique.
Thank you so much, Jean. It is always a pleasure to be here. I'm so happy to be back again. And that was a great introduction. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And we know that you have so much to share with your expertise in working with executives and employees and, really understanding the labor market. And you thank you so much for this encouraging and motivating episode. And Monique, I know that you've had such an interesting story, and your life is so interesting in terms of your passion and your purpose. But can you share with our listeners what inspired your work in this area? And was there ever a time when you were not so confident? And if so, how did you overcome?
I had a corporate background. That's where I started my career when I was 22. Had a corporate background working in the healthcare industry for major insurance companies, and worked my way up within my career and managed teams and people and project teams, and really saw how toxic the workplace was for me at that time. And for those who know me know that I dealt with a lot of childhood trauma. And at the time when I entered the workplace at age 22, I hadn't yet dealt with my trauma. So going into the workplace, I was re-traumatized by the toxicity that I was seeing with leaders who shouldn't have been leaders, and a lot of the conflict that wasn't being managed well. But on top of that, during my career, I was laid off multiple times. I was the product of downsizing. And eventually, after the final layoff that I went through, I decided not to go back into the workplace. I had to make a decision. Do I want to go back into the workplace and possibly risk this happening again? Or do I want to launch my coaching practice? And I had already had the practice going more on a part-time basis. And I made the tough decision to put my energy and my focus into my business instead of going back into the corporate world. And that's not a decision for everyone. I had to really do a lot of soul searching to do that. But as I launched my full-time coaching practice and began working with executives, I work with them on a lot of things, but job loss is one of those things, because at some point when I'm working with an executive, they end up also being a product of downsizing. So that now is part of my coaching practice. It's one of the things that I work with people on, either if they want to voluntarily leave, or if they're retiring, or if they are laid off. That seems to be the most traumatic thing that's happening, especially now with all the mass layoffs. So over time, I've been able to really develop a strategy as to how people can be more successful quicker once they're laid off, and then how they can be proactive in case it happens again. Because I've worked with some clients, one client in particular, I have worked with for 7 years. And during that time, he has been laid off 4 times. So over time, we've developed ways for him to be more proactive so that his job search is expedited. And each time he's been laid off, he has found a new position quicker and quicker than the time before. So I felt it was important to talk about this today, because I think there's some really basic and practical things that people should be doing that they are not doing, that will help them. It will help build their confidence, and it will help empower them if they are laid off.
A beautiful story, and certainly a testimony to your outstanding work. And we see that time lapse, when we have that job loss or whatever happens during this transition point, it can be detrimental or productive. So you really show people how to use that time to be more productive. Monique, can you share from your vantage point, what are some of the trends for job loss that you see as we look at, connecting and preparing our listeners for maybe some unexpected things that are in the, that's going to turn up?
Well, what I've been seeing, especially reasons for job loss, during COVID, we saw a lot of companies staff up, meaning they added staff. A lot of the tech companies, like people started using Zoom all the time. So that company added staff. So those companies that added staff during COVID, we are now seeing that they are downsizing. Because now as people go back to the workplace in the office, or there are hybrid work environments, not as many people are working from home, not as many people are needing the technology that was needed during COVID. So many of these companies that overstaffed during COVID are now downsizing. So that's one of the reasons for job loss. Also, some companies may lose very large contracts for various reasons. So that could mean the downsizing of sometimes an entire team that was handling that contract, or the team that supported that line of business. Mm-hmm. That could be another reason for downsizing. Also, if employees are just underperforming and they get terminated, that's another reason for job loss. So those are some of the main things that I'm seeing as a coach.
Thank you so much. That's quite inclusive. Can you talk about the impact on the workplace culture when there are people who are laid off or lose their jobs? What impact does it have on perhaps other workers or even employers themselves?
Well, the employers are impacted because now they have the same amount of work, but less people, less resources, especially if an entire team or if there's a mass layoff. So the work is dispersed differently, and the people that are left are taking on more work, which could mean that they're being overworked and overstressed. What I'm finding even personally is that customer service is impacted. Sometimes I'll call to get some questions answered and I'm left on hold forever, or I'm disconnected, or the customer service person can't really answer my question because they haven't been well trained. They've been hired quickly and not given the proper education for the products they're supporting, and then they can't answer the questions. So it impacts customer service. It can impact the company's brand as a whole. And what I mean by that is, like, we saw some of the big tech companies do major layoffs last year, and it wasn't handled well. And people were complaining about how they got notified of their layoff. And that really impacted those companies' brands because it gives them negative publicity. I had one client who was driving to work and they got a text saying, "Don't bother coming in."
Oh my goodness.
And they turned around in the middle of their commute and went back home. They were told HR will be calling you. And they were on their way into a really large customer meeting, and they contacted another team member who said the exact same thing happened to them. So people were getting notified on their way into work. So things like this really reflect poorly on a company itself. The people who are left there, this is a really interesting dynamic because there are people who don't get laid off and they see their teammates being laid off. And this is a bit of survivor's guilt, where the people who are left are feeling guilty, like, why me? And some of them are saying, like, I'm a single person, but my teammate got laid off and they have a family. How are they going to make it financially? Yes. So there's a lot of that happening. And then again, the people who are left who aren't laid off are the ones taking on all the extra work that's there. And some of them aren't trained for that type of work, but they're being handed and delegated these tasks or these projects that they really aren't sure how to handle them. So it's leaving them with a lot of uncomfortable feelings with it affects their confidence and their performance.
That's so important. And what about the fear that perhaps I'll be next? I'll be the one getting the tips, and perhaps how this impacts their performance.
Exactly. And that fear is hard to work with. If an entire group of people that are still there and they're all operating out of fear, that will impact their performance and their decision making.
That's so important. And I think we can all witness how we see fewer people doing more without really being qualified. So it affects, as you indicated, customer service, getting the right information or having to be connected to more people to get answers. And I love what you were talking about in terms of how it impacts the workplace culture, because let's say you have a team that works well together, and there's some people who are very positive and good motivators, and now that person is not there. So I can see how it has an effect on the whole team.
Right. It can be devastating.
Yes. And Monique, it goes without saying the financial, social, personal, economic loss as a result of job change or transitions, or even trying to prepare yourself, maybe going back to school. You're going to talk about a lot of positive things that workers can do. And one of the most important things that I'd like for you to talk about is what should employees be doing while they are still employed
Yes.
to mitigate the blow that they might experience if they are separated from their company abruptly or, maybe later.
Yes.
And I know we're going to be going into a commercial break in a minute or two. Anything you want to share before we go into break?
Yeah, just very quickly, it needs to be known that when someone separates from the company, it's trauma. It is trauma to that person. And there is a financial toll because now there's one less paycheck in the family. Sometimes it's a loss of visa status. If people are in the United States working on a special visa, it's a blow to the self-esteem. It creates imposter syndrome. There's a stigma to being laid off. People are then financially impacted, dipping into their savings. So it impacts their self-confidence when they do start interviewing. And there's this fear because they're so unprepared. Mm-hmm. So it definitely is a trauma, but I will talk more about what they can do when that happens to them.
Boy, a lot to look forward to. But now we're ready for a brief commercial break. So stay tuned for more on this empowering segment, episode, empowering yourself to navigate job loss with our outstanding guest, Monique Deneuve. She's the founder, CEO of MD Consulting, accredited master coach, human resource professional, on our show today to help us navigate job loss and be prepared, be proactive. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Announcing Dr. Jean Marie Farish's new book, Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations. This is the companion piece to Dr. Farish's best-selling book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being. Through the new book, we invite you to cultivate a lifestyle of love through daily devotional practices over a 21-day period, following 9 ingredients in the recipe of love. Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations is available on Amazon.com and Balboa Press.
Jean Marie Farish's Center for Conscious Loving, LLC, cultivates a lifestyle of love and wholehearted connections through personal growth, altruistic services, and speaking engagements. Resources include classes, workshops, life care coaching, and creative service projects with an emphasis on cultural arts. Visit the website at drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com. That's drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com, or click the link on the Love Light show page.
Best-selling authors international news honors best-selling authors around the globe. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is featured in the newly released issue of Published Magazine. To have first access to this treasured resource, go to publishedmagazine.com. Vicki Winterton and Dr. Jean Marie Farish have compiled a dynamic book, We're All in This Together, Embrace One Another, an anthology with 24 highly diverse co-authors who share how to spread the message of love, resilience, inclusivity, and compassion. This book is an invaluable source of uplifting, inspiring, and positive insights for spreading positivity in the world. We're all in this together. Embrace one another is available on Amazon.com. Be sure to get your copy today.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Oh, well, welcome back to Love Light, living in the spirit of love. And if you're just joining us, we are with our outstanding guest, Monique Deneau. She's the founder of and CEO of MD Consulting, accredited master coach, a human resource professional on our show today, empowering yourself to navigate job loss, a very timely topic. And Monique, one of the things that I want to just share before I let you kind of take over in terms of what people can do to, if they get abruptly laid off, or what they can do to prepare. This impacts self-worth and, of course, self-care during job loss, and building self-esteem is so important because this affects the whole family. And one of the things that I wanted to just throw out there is that perhaps it's a good time to connect with your family in healthy ways, maybe engage in some positive family discussions for planning, to look at what each family member can do during the time when perhaps there's not enough resources or money available, how we can be more compassionate to each other and be of help to each other. So I just want to throw that piece out.
Yes, absolutely. And self-care is something that I work with people on during job loss, because it is very important that they take care of themselves mentally and physically during times like that.
Yes, and not waste your energy on the past, blaming the employer, or, looking back, and to stay grounded, take care of yourself during, this transitional period. So, Monique, what can people do if they get these abrupt notices, or even if they are preparing for transition? You take it away.
If they are unexpectedly separated from their company, time is of the essence, because statistics show that it takes at least 6 months for someone to find a new job. Now, some people are fine with that. They have savings. They see the layoff as a blessing. They purposely delay their job search because they want some downtime. Other people do not have that luxury. So it's extremely important that they update their resume. And I work with people on how to do that, because there are some best practices on how to do that. One of the things I'm finding when I look at people's resumes is that their resumes are way too long. They are spending a lot of time writing paragraphs and paragraphs about their job and their tasks. And that is not how resumes are done anymore. Resumes now are created using what we call accomplishment statements, where you're creating bullet points that are like one-line statements that start with a verb, and they have a metric within the statement, like how much money the person saved the company, or how many people they've led, or how many people they've mentored, how many people they got promoted who were under them. There's some kind of a metric within each statement. And the resume needs to be done that way instead of lengthy paragraphs, because recruiters will not read paragraphs. They will barely read the resume. So you need to use your accomplishment statements as a hook to get them interested in wanting to hear more. And then they call you in for the interview to hear more. So I'm seeing a lot of people are telling their whole story within the resume, but you got to save the story for the interview. So that's one of the things that is first and foremost to be worked on. Next is the LinkedIn profile. And a lot of people shy away from LinkedIn because it's, quote, social media. It is not actually like most social media. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. It is not like Facebook or Twitter. So for professionals, they need to have a LinkedIn profile, and there are best practices as to how to create that and what kind of information to have in there. So I work with people on how to put their best foot forward within their LinkedIn profile. And a lot of this is about self-promotion. And people are very leery about self-promotion because they think it's bragging. And self-promotion is different than bragging. Self-promotion can be backed up with data. Bragging cannot be. So that's the biggest difference there. And self-promotion helps people build confidence in themselves. And you have to have confidence when you're going into a job interview. You can't go in, like as you mentioned, upset with your employer, bad-mouthing the previous employer. You have to have a really positive attitude. You have to be ready to talk about yourself and your accomplishments. So the LinkedIn profile helps with that promotion. People need to be preparing for an interview. And I mean really preparing, doing like dry runs with someone, with a coach or someone, so that they can anticipate what kind of questions they'll be asked. And there are ways to practice those kinds of questions. They have to try to anticipate what they will be asked. And they'll be asked to speak about their accomplishments in their role. So they need to be ready to talk about that in a positive way. And the interview is where they can tell their story. That's what the interview is for, where they can add more detail to what was in the resume. So those are some really important things that I work with people on, helping them tell their story, helping them increase their confidence level. People need to be processing the layoff during this time. So for those who could afford to wait a while before they job hunt, they're processing mentally and emotionally. But the people who can't afford to wait, they still have to find ways to process. So that's where self-care comes in. They have to find time for self-care during the job search. So I always work with people on creating a schedule for their job search. How much time per week are they going to spend applying for jobs? How much time will they be interviewing each week? How much time will they take off for self-care? That has to be woven into their weekly schedule, or they can get burned out from the job search, because the job search is a full-time job if you let it be. So sometimes I get people who overdo it with the job search and they're getting burned out. Other times I get people who don't put enough time into it. They think that they can just randomly send a couple resumes out each week and that will get them the interview. But that's not the case anymore, because there's so much competition that they have to go into this with a strategy, and they have to be networking, which introverts hate doing. So I work with introverts on how to network better. But networking can be using LinkedIn to do virtual networking, or it can be in-person networking within their own community, within their own city, going to business networking events and things like that. So then I work with people on how to prepare for a networking event, because introverts are famous for this, where they'll go to a networking event and then they'll not network. They don't know what to do or what to say. They get very nervous and very shy. So there's preparation that has to be done for networking also. And then if these people are getting interviews, they have to go in understanding what they want and making sure this job aligns with their values. So it's important for them to assess their values so that they're applying for the right thing. So they need to go in knowing what salary they want, what kind of benefits they want. Is there going to be travel? Is it hybrid? Is it 100% remote? So these are some of the things that people need to do if they're hit suddenly. with some kind of a separation. So I'll just pause there, Jean, because that was a lot. So I'll see if you have any comments or anything before I go into the proactive part.
Those are fantastic. There are a couple of things that I want to get your take on. Going back to the interview, and I know through the years I've had many interviews in the different parts of my career, and I kind of see the interview as a twofold process. I think a lot of times we always look at the power lies with the interviewer. And, I remember one time I was in a group interview. There were about 5 people interviewing me. And the point is, I kind of looked at whether this is a good fit for me. I looked at myself as, hey, this is an opportunity for me to find out more about you, find out more about the company, find out if I'm really a good fit. Not appear so desperate that I'll take anything, but I saw it as a twofold process, right?
That's exactly right. Yes. Mm-hmm. People need to go into an interview with their own list of questions for the person that is interviewing them so that they can ask questions about company culture, about what's the team like that they're going to be on, what is the boss like? What kind of style does the boss have? So, yes, I think a lot of people feel like the person doing the interviewing has the power, as you said, but that they have to shift that mindset and go in with their own questions. And if they feel desperate, they will look desperate. They will come across desperate. They'll put that energy out there. So that is one of the things they also need to prepare for is what do they want to know about the company? Or they need to realize what things they didn't like about their own company that laid them off, or their boss or their team. And then they need to find those things out from the new company, or they'll be repeating the same problems.
And Monique, I think that it's great for you to do your research about the company, right? I think that can help you be a little bit more prepared. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's part of being prepared for the interview is to look the company up on LinkedIn, read the LinkedIn profile of the company, and then go to the company's website and read about them there. If you are on LinkedIn and if you're connected to people that work at the company, it's good to reach out to those people in advance and pick their brain a little bit so that you can understand a little bit about the company. Most people, statistics show, get their jobs from someone that they already know at a company, from someone in their network. So if you have people that are already working at these companies, you need to talk with them first and get a really good idea from someone who actually works there, what the company's all about.
Okay, wonderful. Another point. We get complacent in terms of looking at our skills. And let's say, I had training in particular areas that was not used in a particular job, or I attended workshops. I did a lot of things, but I think taking inventory of your skills, this is a great opportunity to sit down and look, oh, I went to that workshop. Yes, I have a degree here. I have a certificate here that I never used. And really take inventory of yourself and your skills, your attributes, your training. What are your thoughts?
Professional growth is really, really important. And I think that some people plan ahead for that. Like they're always looking ahead. If they have a career plan for themselves, like 5 years out, they're good at planning and keeping up on their professional growth. Others do get very stagnant, especially if they've been with a company. Like there's still people who've been with companies for 10, 15, 20 years or 25 or 30 years, and they got stagnant. They really never updated their professional growth. They stopped learning and growing, and then that can be a detriment. So then they're suddenly laid off and they find that they need to go back to school for something, or they need to upskill themselves to keep up with the way technology grew over time and things like that. So yeah, that's definitely something they should be doing.
Okay. And another point, going back to customer service, and I really value good customer service to the point if I'm at a store shopping and someone is really very positive and showing me, where I can obtain whatever I'm looking for, whatever. And I value good customer service, and I tell the person how I felt about the kind of service that they displayed toward me. And I even share it with the manager.
Mm-hmm.
I go a step further to say this person was really helpful. Or perhaps, I didn't get the kind of service that was, how they're negative people and positive people. So anyway, looking at our positive attributes, how am I really as a person in terms of my customer service? And I know it depends on the kind of job we have, but what are your thoughts about that?
Self-awareness is really important. And I think people need to assess themselves and then look at any feedback that they get, whether it's positive or constructive. And if they are in the proper work environment, they should be getting feedback along the way from customers, clients, internal people. So that feedback's important. And then they need to work on their own self-awareness, because while sometimes we don't see our own gaps, and that's where outside feedback is important, nobody knows us like we know ourselves. So it's important to always be assessing and knowing how you can be better and how you can improve.
And you can also get that feedback from trusted friends or even family members to really look at, okay, what do you see as some of my good qualities, or what are some things that you see that I can improve on? Because a lot of times we can't see ourselves, and we are kind of at our best or worst in the context of relationships with other people and other settings.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And other thoughts on being proactive? I think we have a minute or so before our break, but can you highlight? And then after we come back from our break, we'll talk more about being proactive, but anything to share before we go on break?
Yeah, in general, it's extremely important once you do receive a job or start a new job to start thinking like an entrepreneur and being proactive in case this happens again. And yeah, when we come back, I'll say more about that entrepreneurial mindset that most corporate people don't have, because they feel like they're secure in their job and then suddenly they're laid off. So yeah, I will definitely go more into how to be proactive.
Mm-hmm. That is wonderful. Well, I think we're up for a quick commercial break, so stay tuned for more with our outstanding guest, Monique Deneau. She's the founder, CEO, MD Consulting, accredited master coach, human resource professional, on our show today, empowering yourself to navigate job loss. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Dr. Jean Marie Farish is proud to announce the release of her new book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being, available now at Balboa Press. This book will help you master your life and flourish in love. You'll learn how to become a better and more evolved you. Feel good by making life-affirming choices. Deepen your feelings and expressions of love. Tune in love and sustain the change. And flourish in love and find your joy. Visit BalboaPress.com and search for Living in the Spirit of Love and enjoy Dr. Farish's new book today.
I'm Judy Satori. I'm a spiritual channel and activator of human potential. You might have heard me speaking on the Voice of America on Dr. Jean Farish's show, Love Light, because I've been speaking about the challenges that are besetting all of us right now and how we can surrender but also keep on going. I want to invite you to join my new Facebook group that is devoted to heart-centered connection and unity. Through this Facebook group, you can also join my free access question and answer session with Spirit on the first Wednesday to Thursday of every month. Just search Ascension Community on Facebook to join the group. In this session, I answer questions and transmit energy from Spirit to give you guidance and support. Because life on planet Earth ain't easy right now, And there is so much help from above, from beings of love and light, from multidimensional realities who are actually here with us, wanting to step up and support us. I welcome you to become part of our ongoing group conversation about evolutionary change and how it's affecting us as human beings and affecting our life today. Many blessings to you. You can find out more about me and my work at www.ascensionlibrary.org. Have a wonderful day.
Vicki Winterton and Dr. Jean Marie Farish have compiled a dynamic book. We're all in this together. Embrace one another. An anthology with 24 highly diverse co-authors who share how to spread the message of love, resilience, inclusivity, and compassion. This book is an invaluable source of uplifting, inspiring, and positive insights for spreading positivity in the world. We're all in this together. Embrace one another is available on Amazon.com. Be sure to get your copy today. Best-selling Authors International news honors best-selling authors around the globe. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is featured in the newly released issue of Published Magazine. To have first access to this treasured resource, go to PublishedMagazine.com.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Welcome back to Love Light, living in the spirit of love. If you're just joining us, we are with our outstanding guest, Monique Deneau. She's the founder and CEO of MD Consulting. She's also the host of the Voice America show, Leading with Intention, on the Business Channel. And she's here on our show today, accredited master coach, human resource professional, on our show today, empowering yourself to navigate job loss. And in this segment, Monique is going to share some proactive tips. But one of the things, Monique, that we talked about during break, the aspect of volunteering and also creating opportunities. Sometimes there's a gap, perhaps, in the workplace. And if you're alert and attentive, perhaps this may be an opportunity to create something for yourself. Also, volunteering. So many times you get lethargic, lose confidence, and look at places where you can volunteer, perhaps at a place that you're interested in working. There may be opportunities to volunteer where you can really showcase your skills. So I think this is, we have to look at all kinds of opportunities. What are your thoughts, Monique?
Well, first, addressing the gaps within companies, that's absolutely right. Many times there are gaps, and sometimes when there's a layoff within a company, the employee is able to find another opportunity within the company, and then they'll just be transferred to another team. So it's important that employees do keep that in mind. The employer doesn't always bring that up, so the employee really needs to own this and look around for those kinds of opportunities. And then the volunteering, there are a lot of organizations that start people out as volunteers and they end up hiring them as full-time or part-time paid employees. So I think volunteering can take a couple angles. You can volunteer while you're doing your job search so that you're still improving your confidence level, using your skills, giving back. And then you can also volunteer in the hopes of maybe eventually having a full-time paid position at that organization.
Isn't that positive? I think you talked about your accomplishment statements as
Yes.
part of your resume. when an employer sees that you're doing something positive or you did something positive during a job loss. I volunteered. I, used my skills in doing this or that. I think that really speaks volumes to your potential.
It does, because one of the things employers look for nowadays, they want to see how well-rounded of a person are you. They want to see that you have outside interests and that you are open to all the possibilities. So the volunteer work is really important, and it can also be logged in LinkedIn. There's an area in LinkedIn for volunteer work where you can promote that part of yourself.
And I think there's also opportunities for us to look at these leisure activities and hobbies that you might be able to turn into maybe some type of job opportunities, looking elsewhere, sometimes expanding your view from your previous employment and really looking at, okay, what are some other things that I'm interested in?
That's exactly right. I had a client who worked at a bank and he was laid off. And on the side, his hobby was riding motorcycles, and he was a trainer. He trained motorcycle drivers. And as we talked, like his passion, that was his passion. He hated working at the bank, and he was procrastinating looking for another banking job. And so as we talked it through, he ended up going in a different direction completely and becoming a trainer for a motorcycle company. And that was his passion, but it started out as a hobby, and now it's his full-time job.
Beautiful story. Being employed, spending time employment. I mean, we spend most of our lives employed,
right?
And it's really good to find something that you enjoy, to your passion, or something that ignites your interest or give you that spark. So. During times of job loss, as you're transitioning, look at, hobbies, volunteering, all these other aspects that can really, make you more employable. And, attending community, college job fairs. And as Monique indicated, friends people who are employed. A lot of times the employers get recommendations from people who are already employed. So take advantage of that.
Yes, for sure. And it kind of leads us into how to prepare in advance, how to be proactive. You should always be looking ahead and planning ahead. And that means assessing your skill set, assessing your values. If you are enjoying the job that you have, that's fine for now. You may not always enjoy it. So you should always be looking ahead. And I like to say that employees need to have an entrepreneurial mindset, meaning they should always be promoting themselves, networking, keeping their resume updated. That should be done at least once a year. Same with LinkedIn, even twice a year if there's time, to keep all of that updated. Always be assessing the strengths that you have. Learn how to talk about yourself, learn how to promote yourself. That's what branding is. It's realizing who you are as a person, who you are as a leader, what value you can bring within an organization, and then being able to talk about that to other people. And another step in this proactive strategy is to do what we call informational interviews. And these are where you pick people that you want to learn more about, whether you want to learn more about their job, their company, their industry, and you set up a 30-minute chat with them just to ask some questions and pick their brain a little bit. So it helps you learn about what's open out there, what's available. It helps you to connect with other people in a networking way, and it helps you to get your brand out there so that people start to know who you are. And you can do informational interviews externally outside of your company or internally within your company. I think some people within a company, they make the mistake of just staying within their team, working within their team, and they never really branch out to find out more about the company or the other teams or the other parts of the organization. So many times I'll help them do informational interviews internally within their own company so that they're promoting themselves that way. And that's really important to do so that people get to know you and you're staying really visible. So those are some of the real proactive things that people can do.
I love that point about looking at other areas within your employer network or at the job that you were or holding or whatever. Perhaps you may lose your job, that position, but there are other avenues within that company that you can branch out in, right? And what about even training? I mean, looking, okay, well, I'm interested in that particular position or whatever, or that particular segment of the company, and perhaps I can start preparing myself or going to workshops or looking at what they require, right? To prepare.
Yeah, I always recommend that people put together like a 5-year career trajectory plan for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this involves planning. So you got to be really proactive about it. But that way you can look at where you want to be. And then we do a gap analysis. We look at where you are now, where you want to be, and where's the gap at? What are the skills you don't know? What are the things you can't do yet? And then we put together a plan as to how to close those gaps so that even if it's a 2 to 5 year plan, if it means going back to school, sometimes that takes a couple years, or getting a certificate or additional training. So it's really good to be proactive in a way that you're planning that far in advance. And then if something does happen, you've been educated, your professional development is up to speed where it needs to be. You've already been planning where you need to go. If you've been doing informational interviews, your network has already been developed. And then many times you can just reach out to that network and they know you and they're ready to pull you right into a new position.
Beautiful. And what about staying afloat with taking maybe short-term jobs if needed while you're in this process? What are your thoughts about that during transition?
Yeah. Some people do. It depends on their, they have to do their financial assessment and see how far they can go on their own finances. But some people do take short-term, temporary, part-time jobs to hold them over, or contracting jobs or consulting, something like that.
Good. Well, Monique, how can listeners connect with you? And if you can briefly share with us about your services.
Yeah, I do executive coaching, and they can reach me at my website, mdconsultingglobal.com, or they can email me at monique@mdconsultingglobal.com. And there's a breakthrough session that I will offer them so that we can assess what it is they need and if I can help. And then we can get them started on whatever type of coaching plan works best for them. So they can just reach out to me that way.
Wonderful. Well, Monique, thank you so much for being here today on such an empowering episode, showing us how to be proactive and prepared. We invite listeners to listen back on demand and share our show with others and connect with Monique to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Okay, so begin anew each day. Access my newly published book, Thoughts for Today, available on Amazon in 2 formats, in print and Kindle ebook. Much gratitude to the Voice America team for making this show a reality and for shining their love light around the world. Embrace change. In the midst of change, we can open the space to create something new and even better. As one door closes, another opens, but you must be willing to walk through with confidence and grace. And I close with concluding thoughts on self-worth. Know and show your worth. Strength and courage comes from within. Endure the test of time and be uplifted by grace. Cease to worry about the past and anxiety about the future. Live fresh in the present moment with a positive outlook. Love and care for yourself. Continue to learn and grow. Trust divine guidance and accept positive support. You are your best treasure. This is Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, coming to you from Voice America And until we meet again, remember, an empowered self is a loving self. And keep your love light shining. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Love Light this week. Be sure to join Dr. Jean Marie Farish again for another program next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and noon Eastern Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Have a wonderful week filled with love, self-worth, and better connections.